The Oklahoma Sooners should 100% get in on the Cam Coleman sweepstakes.
You are Locked On Sooners, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma Sooners. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Sooner Nation? Welcome to Locked On Sooners, and thank you for making Locked On Sooners your first listen every single day. Shout out to all the everydayers out there tuning in and subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts, and thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Go download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase over at Game Time. He's Jay Smith of Unfair Sports. I'm John Williams of Sooners Wire. On today's show, we're going to talk about the most important player that needs to return for the Oklahoma Sooners. We're going to talk about some latest portal entries, but let's start here, Jay, because the biggest fish in the transfer portal pond was entered on Monday. The expectation is that Cam Coleman, Auburn wide receiver, will enter the transfer portal.
Yep. Kind of surprised everybody, I guess, because the rumor was that, he's coming back. He's definitely going to be back at Auburn. And there's I think somebody posted a tweet that he was definitely locked in and was coming back. And then a couple of days later, guess what happens? He enters the portal. So as you mentioned, he is the biggest fish out there. And truth be told, I expect Oklahoma to be a player in this. I know people think that we don't spend money when it comes to going in the portal or whatnot, but we spent money when we got Dominic Williams to come in out of the portal, right? We spent money to get Kendall Daniels to come here. We spend in places that make sense for us to spend. Satania surprised us and decided to be awesome. And so, hey, we're going to spend to try to retain him, hopefully. And we'll talk about that a little bit later. But as of right now, Cam Coleman is definitely on the list of players to go after. I also wouldn't be surprised if we go after a couple of more players to go with him. I'm hoping we find a G5 player that's similar to the way Trey Harris was that went to Ole Miss a couple years ago. Trey was a beast. And I would like for us to find something. Heck, Chris Brazel over there at Tennessee played at Tulane. So you're going to find some nice diamonds in the roughs there. So I expect that. But Oklahoma really does need a #1 type wide receiver that they can go to, play in and play out until one on the roster, emerges. You kind of want to go after one that's shown that they have the capabilities. And truth be told, Cam Coleman is that guy.
Yeah, he is undoubtedly a wide receiver one. He's a guy that if he could enter the NFL draft right now, he would be a top 50 pick in the NFL draft. He just doesn't have enough years of college experience yet, based on the rules at hand, to allow him to enter the draft. He's a good player. He's the only wide receiver that really gave Cortland Guillory trouble this year. And he had Cortland questioning a lot of things in that game, but he got a lot better after it. Right. And it's no shade to Cortland, because Cam Coleman is really good. He's a really good football player. He accounted for 30% of Auburn's passing yardage this season. He accounted for 45% of Auburn's passing touchdowns. Now, you're going to sit here and tell me that, okay, Auburn's not a good passing offense. True. But still, he accounted for 30% of the passing yardage, 700 yards. If that offense was even remotely a little bit better, that dude's 1,213 yards as a receiver and contending for a Bolitnikoff. Like, that's the kind of production that he had in an offense that was stinko.
Smelly. Really bad.
Real bad.
Stinky. But the thing is you just throw it in the air and let that dude run underneath it.
Yes.
That's kind of what
they
you
did
want to do.
against us.
Yeah. He knew to just throw it in the air, let that kid go up underneath it. And you need a player you can do that with. Just let them go fight for the ball.
Yep.
Right. And that's going to also be able to help Mateer learn better about throwing a good jump ball. Just get it in the air. Let me go run underneath it. And I will jump and battle somebody for it. So you need to have one of those guys. Now, granted, you probably do have a couple more of those on your roster. I think Elijah Thomas may be one that could do it in the future. Jaden Pettit, when he shows up on campus, coming up soon, Manny Choice. Zion Kearney. You have those players that probably could do that as well. You just got to get them doing it, I guess you could say, on a consistent basis. So, but Cam Coleman's one of those one of one. He is a game-changing type player that if you you force feed him the ball, he's going to find a way to make sure he makes the catches. I mean, I don't think he'll end up like Ryan Williams, who had a tendency of dropping passes as much. He's one that can break out. So that being said, Oklahoma's going to have to definitely go after him. We could use additional wide receiver firepower right now.
I think even if Isaiah Satania does return, Cam Coleman is still a guy that you pursue because he's really good. He's one of those guys that I like to call gravity creators. He draws so much attention to him that it opens up things for everybody else in the offense. And he would complement what Isaiah Satania does really, really well in the slot. You want to run some slot fades with Isaiah Satania in the slot, and you got Cam Coleman split out wide to the right of him or to the left outside of him, basically. That's going to force defenses to pay more attention to Cam Coleman on the outside. And then Isaiah Satania is just running up the sideline because he's in one-on-one coverage. So please go do that. Jay, are there any other guys that you're looking at that you think Oklahoma needs to make a significant priority of?
So there's a lot of running backs starting to hit the portal. I think there's two names that I am keeping my eyes on. One, Caleb Hawkins, the running back from UNT. He's also an OK Prep, so that hashtag OK Prep agenda is still in effect for your boy. He's one that I think Oklahoma's going to have to at least kick the tires on. Now, granted, I expect him to go to Oklahoma State and follow Coach Eric Morris because, and his running back coach, Patrick Cobb, it makes sense for him to do that. But the allure of playing in the SEC sometimes gets people's attention and it makes them want to, consider other options. That's one. The other one is Lloyd Avant, running back out of Colorado State. I saw not too long ago, I think it was Matt Zenith over there at CBS Sports mentioned that there was an SEC school that was sticking out when it comes to him. And based upon reports, it sounds like he may make a visit here at Oklahoma. So if that is the case, he is a running back that to me can be a great addition to the room. Roughly 220 pounds. He'd be a solid back to have. He can break out on some runs. He does he reminds me a lot of Sam Franklin when he was at University of Tennessee Martin. Now, the big thing with that is I just need to see him come into practice here and bust his tail like everybody else. If he shows up in practice, busts his tail like everybody else, I think Avant can actually be something because that was kind of the problem you had with Sam Franklin. He just didn't work out because he just didn't really work very hard. Rumor has it. So, with that being said, I am very cautiously optimistic with any portal running backs, mainly because I need to see them actually try.
Yeah.
And then I'll be in. But I do think that Lloyd Avant is one that we definitely should keep our eyes on, as well as, like I said, Caleb Hawkins.
Does a Trey Wisner do anything for you? I don't think he'd cross the Red River lines, but that's an intriguing name in the portal because just of his game-breaking ability is so special.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. That he intrigues me. CJ Baxter does as well. I'm trying to think. Was it Jarrett Gibson is also in the portal, if I'm correct as well, right?
Yep.
He was the one that loved DeMarco. So, and I know that he was just waiting on an offer from DeMarco Murray, and I think that DeMarco realized that he wasn't going to end up coming to Oklahoma, and so he hasn't been with the program since October. So I could totally see him going across the river and causing problems. Now, Jarek was a top 100 player in the country when he was a prospect. He's like number 3 back in the class. Truth be told, I don't think it'll be a problem to kick the tires on him as well. Now, granted, I have no clue where he could potentially end up because I haven't heard anything about him at all. I know that the comp of him was Sonny Michel or whatnot, and hey, that's a pretty solid comp if you produce.
Sonny Michel.
I know, right? But Wisner would be intriguing. I'm actually very surprised that he even is not going to be at Texas. Yeah. Now, I know that injury is always a thing when it comes to running backs, and he dealt with a lot of stuff. So why not? I guess why not?
Why not? The other name
that tell me a reason why not.
I don't, other than, maybe the injury stuff being something that you're slightly concerned of bringing in another banged up running back or a running back with a banged up history. That would be the only concern I'd have, because you want to bring somebody in that's got better durability than what you've seen your running backs deal with this last year. Now, 1 year does not make a durability concern. We just have to continue to watch it and monitor it. That all being said, the other name that I think is intriguing to me, and this is another former Sooner. We talked about Gavin Sawchuk yesterday. Hollywood Smothers, dude. I know that he wanted to go back home. He wanted to play at NC State. I hope that DeMarco picked up the phone and gave the guy a ring just to say, hey, what's good, man?
Like, hey,
no hard feelings on our end.
We miss you. Yeah. Why don't you come on back and hang out with us for a little bit?
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I think Caleb Hicks also hit the portal, if I'm correct, as well. So yeah, you're seeing a lot of former players that portal from us. I also bounce other places. So just let you know, it's not just us, right? I remember Tyree Walker ended up at like 2 other programs outside of being from here. So tell people all the time, man, sometimes it is what it is.
He was a huge part of that Cincinnati offense this year.
He was. So, hey,
he really was.
We'll see. But no, I would, Hollywood Smothers, I take back in a heartbeat. I didn't want him to leave when he did. Yeah. Like I said, I understood he wanted to be closer to home. Makes sense. I'd totally take him back. But we're going to be looking at a lot of running backs over the next week. So we'll be talking about this for a bit.
Well, and here's the great thing about running back is they're really solid at running back with Xavier Robinson, Torrey Blaylock. Hey, there's been no announcement on Taylor Tatum. So maybe Taylor Tatum's going to stick around another year. You got Jonathan Hatton coming in. You got DeZephan Walker. That's a pretty solid 4 to 5 running backs that you've got. You just need somebody, I think, that is going to help provide even more solidification to that group. So, All right, we got a couple more portal entries from the Oklahoma Sooners. We'll discuss that coming up next here on Locked On Sooners. There's nothing like the college football season, tailgates, packed stadiums, and being right there in the middle of it all. The energy, the bands, the moments you remember forever, but actually getting tickets, that part used to be frustrating with long queues, logins, and prices jumping at checkout. That's why Game Time gives the advantage back to fans. It's the easiest way to unlock amazing college football tickets and experiences in just a few taps. You can open the Game Time app and look at upcoming college football games, and you can see really great seats, and it's really quickly found. You don't have to go searching for them. They're right there in front of you. You don't have to dig and scroll and all that jazz. They're right there as soon as you get into the game. I love being able to see what my view from the seat is going to look like before I buy, so I know exactly what I'm getting. I'm not going to have to worry about any obstructed views. And again, all the prices before checkout, so it makes the process stress-free. No surprise fees, none of that stuff over at Game Time. So take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Once again, thanks for making Locked On Sooners your first listen every single day. Shout out to all the everydayers out there tuning in and subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Jay, we had a couple more entries into the transfer portal on Monday. Center Troy Everett and Jacob Snyder both entered the portal. I guess Troy Everett got that medical red shirt he was looking for maybe, and so he's going to try to continue his collegiate career.
Yeah, it sounds like it. Or at least he's put the application in to get that, since he only played one game this past season because of injury, right? So if that's the case, hey, wish the best for him. He'll have one more year to get opportunity to play. And, if he decides that he's going to try to make the league, he can, or he can come back and coach. I think he'd be a really good coach. I know that he was a great motivator on the team. Everyone talked about how much of a leader he is on the team or whatnot. So yeah, if he wants to come back, be a coach, I'd love to see him as like a grad assistant. He'd be dope. That's just something that I feel like it would fit his personality based upon just everything I've heard about him. So yeah, you lose him. And then of course, Jacob Snyder, one of the many wide receivers. He's from Bigsby, one of the many smaller young wide receivers we had out there or whatnot. I haven't really saw him on the field, but at the same time, he did a really good job in practices, I've heard. And so, wish them both the best of luck.
Yeah, and it's a little bit surprising to me that we haven't seen more portal entries. Jay, I felt like you and I discussed it, and there's still time. The portal isn't officially open until Friday, but it's been a slow trickle for a lot of these guys, and you haven't seen many significant names outside of Kobe McKenzie. I think that was the one that maybe surprised in a way because of the potential opportunity that was going to be there at Oklahoma next year. But other than that, it's been guys that either don't really have a role on the team aside from what they do in practice,
Right.
or guys that have been passed up on the depth chart. So it's intriguing what's transpired. And I think that goes to show the retention job that Jim Nagy and his staff and Brent Venables and his staff have done to try to lock up as much of this roster as possible to go make another run next year.
Exactly. And that gives you Jake Michela. You still have Owen Holenbeck in the back, Sean Hutton behind.
Gunnar
You're probably
Allen.
going to go portal. Yeah, you're probably going to portal one more interior offensive lineman to kind of add to that room or whatnot. It just, it's unfortunate that, the injury bug got him. Like, that was the one thing with him. Both the Jacob Sexton and Jake Taylor, as well as Logan Howland, is just, they just got beat up. Heath Ozida, they got beat up with those injuries, and it, took them out, and you didn't get to have them back to play a lot really this season. And so, yeah, it sucks. And BV, I remember him talking about him whenever he got sucks losing a leader, just devastating having someone who exemplifies those leadership traits. In the practices and just being out there, it just sucks for him to, and it was the opposite knee too. So he's at both of them. No bueno. But hey, besides that, now that makes me believe, like I said, Oklahoma's probably going to go into the portal. They're going to look for another interior guy to go along with the young players. Cause I mean, heck, you never know. Deacon Schmidt may go out there and take the job, right? He may end up going out there and winning a job out there. Darius Afalava, if he's healthy now, he may go in there and snatch up a job. There's a lot of possibilities there. So, but as you mentioned before, I'm also a little surprised that it's been kind of quiet on the portal front. That's a total of 10 players right now. Once you add Jacob Snyder in there, I honestly thought we'd be closer to 15 at this point, but some people may be reevaluating the options. They may be saying, look, it probably is better for me to be here one more year, get some good training in, be a part of a potential run, and then from there, throw the deuces.
Yeah, it's one of those things that if you don't have a lot of production to your name, it's not necessarily in your best interest to go hit the portal. I mean, we talked about the running backs that are available already in the portal, and that's just that position.
Yep.
There are a ton of offensive linemen with starts under their belt that are in the portal. And that's going to minimize opportunities at big time programs. Now you might have to take, a step to another conference or a step down to the G6 to find an opportunity, a la Josh Bates, right? Josh Bates left Oklahoma last offseason, went to SMU, and it wasn't a starter right away, but became a starter early in the season and then ended up on the Remington watch list because he was playing so well. So it's not necessarily a bad idea for some of these guys. Like if there's no path to playing time at Oklahoma and you have an opportunity to go somewhere that's going to give you an opportunity to play, hey, more power to you. But if you don't see that opportunity, don't jump into the portal all willy-nilly, because as we've seen in the early years of the transfer portal era, man, that grass is not always greener. Being in one place and getting developed year over year over year over year is going to give you a better opportunity to have that breakout, a la Grayson Halton, a la Owen Heineke. Look at a number of those guys that have been here for 3-4 years at this point. That's what development looks like. And I think maybe that's gotten through from the coaching staff and the front office to these players. It's like, hey, listen, don't just jump in. Let's figure this out. Just keep grinding with us and we'll help you create opportunity for yourself.
And retention staff. So that's not a situation, something for us to say that, there's any concerns in that capacity. They did a really good job of bringing in, keeping their players. They did a good job. Like I said, they like their recruits for a reason. And so we recognize that. And I think some of the players are seeing that too. To even add to that, for some of these recruits, man, don't do these teams favors by bouncing. If they do offer you something lower, you think you may be able to get more, unless you think you got something lined up, stay your butt at that school. Stay there, leverage the resources, bust your butt, take that year. Because in a lot of situations, all you need is 1 year good tape. Mm-hmm. All you need is 1 year. And the thing that's hurting a lot of, especially younger ones, is if, like you said, you've got these players that are jumping in the portal with a lot of snaps. A lot of these teams are looking for 1 year rentals just as a gap, a stopgap while they're training their younger players. So don't make it to where in the circumstance where you have to end up going somewhere to be a backup, or maybe you get lucky enough to go somewhere they're going to let you compete. The best places to go, if that is the situation, go where they got a new coach. Go follow a new coach somewhere. That's really truth be told, that's really your only real opportunity to be able to get in and get a chance to truly play, because in a lot of these situations, these coaches know who they want, or like I said, they're looking for a veteran who's got experience that could be a stopgap for their young players, because they may not think their young players are just ready yet, or they want somebody to push the young players. So don't put yourself in that circumstance where you just, looking for a home, because a lot of players are looking for homes right now. And these are players that have been looking for homes since last portal season.
Yeah. So I can't wait to see what Oklahoma looks to do. I mean, they're going to have a number of high priority targets. It'll be fascinating to see exactly where they spend most of their time and resources to try and shore up this roster to, again, try to get back to the college football playoff in 2026 and then go on a deeper run. We got an interesting question to ask, and you all, hopefully you'll provide your answer, but which player would be more important to get back, Kip Lewis or Isaiah Satania? We'll discuss that coming up next here on Locked On Sooners.
Fridays already feel different during basketball season, and FanDuel is making them even better. Every Friday night, before the games tip off, FanDuel gives fans a new way to kick off the weekend with NBA Happy Hour. I know, right? Sounds crazy, but NBA Happy Hour is your official pregame, a limited time window where special offers drop right inside the FanDuel app before the action actually starts. So Fridays from 6 to 7:30 Eastern time. So that is 5 to 6:30 Central for us Central folks. That has become the appointment viewing hour. So you open the app during a happy hour, and it's always bringing something new, from boosts to bonuses to different surprises. You never know what you might see in there. Plus, it's easy to check the weekly specials before tip-off and make a move before the window closes. So before tip-off, check the FanDuel app and see what's dropping there for NBA Happy Hour every Friday from 6 to 7:30 Eastern, 5 to 6:30 Central. A little basketball, a little action, and a whole lot of Friday energy. That's NBA Happy Hour only on FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA.
Again, thanks for making Locked On Sooners your first listen every single day. Shout out to all the everydayers out there. Tune in and subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. We're free and available on all podcast platforms and part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Jay, so two key players that have NFL opportunities to go be top 100 picks in the 2026 NFL draft, Kip Lewis, Isaiah Satania. Both players Oklahoma is trying to bring back for the 2026 season. Which do you think is the most important one for the Sooners to bring back?
Honestly, that is a very tough question, because you're asking me, is our top wide receiver the most important, or our defensive leader the most important one, right? Like it's such a tough one to really evaluate. I've been thinking about it all day on who really would be the one that would have the largest impact. And I think it's Kip. I say that specifically because Satania being your best wide receiver, that means that he's going to be the player that teams are going to focus on going forward next season. So defenses are going to find ways to possibly bracket him, whatever they can do, depending on who you get out the portal.
Turn on the Alabama tape.
Right. They're going to find a way to try to keep that dude out of it. Even with his track speed, they're going to try to find ways to make sure that you're not able to really leverage him.
Mhm.
Defense-wise, they may try to find ways to get Kip out of there, but all he's going to do is move around and find a way to be an impact player. Plus, he'll be that leader that vocal leader to help rally the troops on defensive side. So if it's me, I'm probably going to go with Kip Lewis, even though Satania would be a massive decoy and be a great way to help boost up the other receivers around, especially depending on who we get in the portal. But give me Kip. I think that's probably the one I would go with.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Satania because if he does not come back, you don't have receiving production returning for the Oklahoma Sooners yet again. This was an issue coming out of the 2024 season in which the offense was not good. And then Isaiah Satania was kind of flying under the radar through spring ball, right? All the talk was about Giovanni Gibson. All the talk was about Elijah Thomas even. There was a lot of buzz around a lot of people not named Isaiah Satania. And he just said, hey, you know what? Don't forget about me. And through fall camp, he was really good. They called him one of the most consistent players out there, but still not a whole lot of buzz. Start of the season, a little slow, 6 catches over his first 2 games, but then really came on strong and became your most important offensive piece. I want continuity. That is huge for me. And I'm not going to sit here and say that Kip Lewis returning for Oklahoma would also not be huge because he is the emotional leader of that defense. He is crazy, and you need a little crazy on your defense. I don't know how many times I thought he was going to get a targeting or roughing the passer call against Alabama in the college football playoff game, but I want a dude like that on my defense, no doubt about it. I want guys that are going to be fighting to get in the other team's heads the entire 60 minutes. You want those kind of guys that play on your team. You hate playing against those kind of guys. So
Yeah.
Kip Lewis coming back, man, I will celebrate. I will pop the poppers. We will pop the champagne. It'll be all celebration. But for my money, if this Oklahoma offense is going to take a step forward in 2026, you got to find a receiver like Isaiah Satania to come back and be a part of this thing and growing this thing. And like you mentioned, getting somebody else in the portal to go along with him. He can't do it all himself. We saw it. You got to find somebody that can take a lot of the load off as well. But to me, there's no wrong answer here. Both are incredibly important. If you can get them both back, like we will be screaming down the plains, like you'll be hearing it. But I think you couldn't go wrong with either. But for my money right now, I'd have to lean Isaiah Satania.
Yeah, and I can see Satania being as big as the idea of having a Deion Burks make that return, even though Burks didn't put up the numbers that you hope. You was hoping for a 1,000-yard season out of him, but you got some good numbers out of Burks, especially at the end when Satania was the guy getting locked up. You basically was able to throw it to Burks, 7 catches, over 100 yards receiving, so that was fantastic. But Satania kind of feels in that realm too. Now I do think that Satania could probably get you a 1,000-yard season next year. I do feel like his game's going to take a bigger leap, especially if you have a healthy quarterback. You know that he will throw it to him like crazy. Remember, we went 10-2 and your quarterback was hurt for at least 6 games. So that's a pretty big deal if you really think about it. There's a chance that you could turn one of those L's into a dub if you have a healthy quarterback. And with that wide receiver room and the way the schedule looks for next year, heck yeah, sign me up. Like, I think the Michigan game is funny when I'm looking at it. The Michigan game, to me, is going to be a very intriguing one that I think we're going to look out and catch them year 1 in the new reform of what they're trying to do. Because I think year 2, they're going to be a problem. Us catching them so early, to me, is a very good thing. For us, bringing these players back, we definitely be able to attack them. And so, yeah, there's no wrong answers whatsoever, but I think Kip coming back is going to be kind of like Danny Stutzman coming back last year.
And I'll argue with myself a little bit on the Kip Lewis piece of this, because if Kip doesn't come back, you don't have any experienced linebackers, because again, we're operating under the assumption that Owen Heineke won't be back because the NCAA can't ever do the right thing.
Nope.
And so you're talking about losing Kobe, Kip, and Owen Heineke all in one offseason. And then you're hoping to find guys in the portal that can come in, acclimate to the system right away. Because one of the beauties of what you've had on defense is you've had a linebacker core that's been in this system for 4 years between Kobe and Kip. Owen Heineke's been here for 3 years. And so you've had continuity. They've developed in this system. You don't have that now. Sammy, he's been here now. He'll be going on his 4th year next year, if I'm right, 2023. So that you have Sammy for that, barring anything unforeseen. But it's not that you have Sammy and 3 other guys that have all been in the system for 3 or 4 years. So that's where I would argue with myself on Kip Lewis, in that, dude, having that valuable experience at the second level, helping getting everybody aligned, making sure everybody's on the same page, dude, invaluable.
It is very invaluable. It's a critical thing that you need in order to be successful. It's experience helps. Like, the one thing that we're raving the most about going into next year is we're going to have 4 returning starters on the offensive line. That changes everything for you. That's one of those positions that, and the linebacker spot, and this is why I call it so important, is linebacker is very critical in Brent Venables' defense, right? Like in Ben Arbuckle's offense, wide receivers are important, but it's really about the quarterback getting it to them. And, there's a lot more pieces that go into that. Defense, linebacker, everything runs through them. That is the spot that is the most important for Brent Venables. Now, granted, I do feel like they're very comfortable about what not only they have in the room and what they're possibly bringing, to where they would even be okay with Kobe McKenzie leaving. But yeah, you really, Kip would change a lot of that. It would give you just enough time for that bridge year you need for Nesta, Marcus James, and then the young guys coming in, and Jacob Curry, Dan Bathurst. You gives you that time for them to get ready. That, to me, is where Kip really jumps out and excels over anybody else.
Yeah, because as you mentioned, that's what Danny Stutzman did when he came back for 2024. It gave Kobe and Kip and Owen Heineke and Sammy Omasigo one more year where they had a guy that they could follow as they continued to develop under Oklahoma's defense. So again, no wrong answers. We're sitting here hoping they are able to bring back both guys and talk them into staying for one more year, because that would be absolutely monumental for the Sooners. And that's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Sooners. Thanks so much for tuning in, being a part of the show. Subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. We're free and available on all podcast platforms and on YouTube. So hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell to let you know when new episodes drop. Follow Jay at Unfair Sports. Go check out his channel, Unfair Sports, for more Oklahoma Sooners and college football coverage. Follow me at John 9 Williams and read my work covering the Sooners over at SoonersWire.com. The show is at Locked On Sooners on all of your favorite social media platforms. But until next time, he's Jay Smith. I'm John Williams. Boomer Sooner.